I'm Tyler, and this is Censored Society. If you guys watched our introductory podcast, you would know that at the end of that podcast, near the end of it, I discussed that I would be doing some of these like talking head videos where I just talk about topics that are on the top of my mind, things that I care about, things that I think about, my perspective on some things, and trying to open a dialogue with you guys. So as we go through this and as I talk about some of these things that we'll kind of get into here, make sure that you're commenting down below to tell me if you guys understand my perspective, disagree, or whatever, man. And if you guys can relate in any kind of way or share your unique perspective on it. The topic that I kind of want to jump into right away today, and we might branch into some other things as well, but I'm not entirely sure because I've had a hard time recording this. This is not scripted. It's all off the top of my head. And I've gone through like 12 different versions of this intro, and I've struggled. I've gotten off track and sidetracked. So I'm going to do my best to get through this with you. The first topic I kind of want to discuss is whether or not the internet has been a net negative or a net positive, but I want to do it just through the perspective of the Western world or just America, because I understand that worldwide it has probably been a net positive because it allows people in extremist, fundamentalist countries that are suppressed and not able to see the rest of the world to use VPNs and things like that to see that we're not so different. So it doesn't allow them to be radicalized to the point of engaging in conflict like we saw in the early 1900s and things like that. So I think that overall in that perspective, it's probably been a net positive. But I think in the Western world that it has been a net negative. And before you jump down my throat, I want you to understand that I have kind of a unique experience about this and a unique perspective. Unlike many of you that are watching, Gen Zers specifically, but also most of the millennials, most of you guys grew up having access to the internet, so you can't really understand where I'm coming from with this. To you, it was always normal. And I think that's part of the problem. When I was growing up, I didn't have internet until I was about 17 years old. And when I did get access to the internet, I think it rewired my brain in a way that was particularly detrimental to me. And I think that it has rewired everybody's brain who's had access to the internet their whole lives. And I think the reason why I have this unique perspective to observe it, and I know there's people that have had internet their whole lives that are fully capable of observing it and have probably discussed this exact topic, but I kind of wanted to put my 2 cents in as someone who didn't have it and then had it because I felt the difference and I felt it right away. And this just sounds so silly. Whenever I share this story with people, everyone always thinks it's preposterous, like that cannot be real. And I wasn't a sheltered kid, like not intentionally. Like I was bullied in school. I understood that people hated each other, like, and they did stuff for no reason. I understood that kind of stuff. But like, my first topic of the internet being bad that I kind of want to hit on is with racism. When I was growing up, race wasn't a thing. Like, I never saw racism in my school, thankfully. My best friend, his name is Race. Ironically, his name is Race, Native American, and he and I were inseparable, man. And to this day, I still love him. He's my brother. He's like family to me. And so like, to me, it was this thing that was in history books that we fought against the Civil War to end slavery, and then we fought with the Civil Rights Act to make everyone equal, to end segregation, and that we were all on this same page now, that we're all the same. No one is immune to jokes. Everyone can be joked at, like all this stuff. Like I thought this is kind of like where we were. Like I didn't understand that when I moved into the city that I was going to see racism, just blatant hatred constantly. I think the algorithms from social media play a role in that, but I don't want to jump too far ahead. I want to kind of give you guys what happened to me, so maybe you guys can relate. I moved into the city, and we got internet, and before I had dove totally into it, because I didn't have it most of my life. Like when I got the internet, I wasn't like sitting on Facebook all day or anything like that. I played Call of Duty, like I played games with my friends. Like that's what my access to the internet was predominantly used for the first couple of weeks of me moving into the city. I'm out at Walmart one day with a bunch of my friends, and we're sitting at the stop sign to get in and out of the Walmart. And we are just waving at people. just me, my brother, a couple of my friends, just waving at people, just being polite kids, having a good day, having fun, trying to bring some joy to other people. And this group, this is another one of those stories where I'm telling you, people always think it's preposterous because they think that you can't be racist towards white people. There's a subset of people out there that think this kind of stuff. And I've always tried to share this story with people to try to bridge a gap. Not really trying to bridge a gap in this specific conversation, just kind of trying to illustrate a point. But anyway, we're waving at these cars, and this car pulls up in front of us full of Native Americans. And these Native Americans roll down their window, scream out cracker and some other slurs at us, and they throw sodas and other objects trying to hurt us. Like, they're trying to hurt us. They drove by one time before that and were insulting us. And, I just thought they were being dicks, I mean, I dealt with bullying and stuff like that in school, and sometimes people are dicks. And so I didn't think too much of it. They circled back around. They went and bought stuff. They went and bought drinks, bought things to come and hit us with. They circled back around and did that. And I remember just being totally shocked. Like, we're still doing this archaic racism thing. We're really judging people and hating people for an immutable characteristic they cannot control that you are born with or born without. Like, I was just like, what the, like, I was so disgusted with it. And that was like the first like rewire of my brain. Like, oh, this is still like a thing. People are actually still stupid. Like, they are like brain rotted, brain dead. I was totally shocked. And I ended up going to visit some family in another state. And when I was there, they were talking about Facebook, and I hadn't made a Facebook yet. And so I made one, and that kind of was the beginning of the end. That's when my brain really started to get rewired. Suddenly, like instantaneously. I also made a YouTube account at the same time. That also contributed to it a little bit as well. Although most of the time on YouTube, I was just watching like parody videos, like The Key of Awesome. I love that show when I was growing up. Those parody songs. Man. If the creators of that channel ever watch this, thank you so much for all those parodies. I honestly wish you guys were still doing it. We need just good humor content like that back in the YouTube algorithm, because now it's just like politics nonstop and just toxic, horrible stuff. But anyway, suddenly overnight, I had access to the worst of the worst humans all the time. I had access and was being inundated and pumped full of just tragedy all over the world constantly. And I felt my brain being rewired. It was like this panic. It was this like compulsion I had to constantly feel like I had to be the change I wanted in the world. Like, I had to go and fight people constantly. I was debating in comment sections, telling people to stop bullying. Like, that stereotype of the SJW that was going on back at that time, that was me, man. I was like, oh my God, why are you guys doing this to each other? What the hell? Like, I was so disgusted. I was beyond shocked. Like, I could not understand it. Like, honestly, when I think back to that time, I still can't understand. I can't understand it today. I can't understand what you guys are doing to each other today. I don't get it. Like, what? Anyway, back on track. I felt the rewiring of my brain, and I became that stereotypical SJW in comment sections, arguing like that all the time. And I think that constant access to information has done so much damage to us in the West, specifically because Facebook and all these places realized that if they showed you the worst of the worst all the time, you would do what I did. You would stay on the platform. You'd argue with people. You'd watch these tragedies. And I can't remember, there was a creator that I watched about a year or two ago, and he was talking about how some of these websites and Facebook in particular started pushing police brutality videos because of the engagement it would get and how much people would stay on to watch them. And I remember that. I remember when that happened. And when he talked about it, I was like, oh my God, it triggered this thing in my brain where I remember my Facebook used to be just like my friends' posts, like pages I followed, like music stuff. And then all of a sudden, I'm seeing police brutality videos all day, every day. Pages I don't follow are popping up. And it just kind of became a norm. But it absolutely did damage and rewire my brain. And because I have this perspective of what I was like before the internet and what I became because of the internet, and I've changed since then too. Thankfully, I was able to recognize what it was doing to me and disconnect somewhat from engaging with a lot of that content, and kind of get more grounded in my beliefs and core to my family and the people that I care about, and kind of tune out that. Unfortunately, a lot of people can't. A lot of people are hooked on that algorithm. It's like serotonin bumps, and it's just damaging your brain over and over and over again. And you see so much death and horror and tragedy every single day on the internet that I think it is completely desensitized. Millennials for sure, Gen Z for sure, and soon to be Gen Alpha, where we don't value life like we should. Or at least I should say many people in these generations don't value life like we should. And we put so much weight into other things that don't matter as much as they are played up to matter. And I think it is solely responsible for the radicalization of both the left and right politically as well. I think that these algorithms I know, but it's been outed all over the place, but they've been manipulated to pump division, to make us argue with each other for their engagement, for their money, so they can make money off us hating each other. And I don't know if there's a way to come back from it, because I don't want to stop using the internet. And I know you watching this video, you don't want to stop using the internet. And when you preach limiting the internet to people, they tune out. Like 15 people probably just turned off this podcast right now. Sorry. Anyway, I think my perspective on this is unique in the aspect, like I described, of having come from not having it and then feeling it radicalize my brain. And for the people who had it their whole lives, this is just normal to you. You know, like you don't even blink twice at it. And for me, because I understand that it wasn't always like that, I'll open my phone sometimes and I'll see this horrific stuff, and it does damage on me. And I haven't been able to sleep for 2 days. I've been up for 2 days, and it's because of the Charlie Kirk assassination that has just made me sick. And it's illustrated my point. It's steelman my point. Like, the people celebrating his death and posting just vile, horrible things, hoping that his family gets killed too. This is exactly what I'm talking about. The radicalization of the left and the right. It's created this antisocial, isolated subset of people that do not value life. This is editing Tyler here. I caught this little moment here where I did not finish my point the way that I intended to. I got kind of distracted in my head. And I said that it created this subset of antisocial people. What I meant to say is that it not only created them, the ones that already existed, it made it much worse. We are experiencing this level of antisocial behavior from people that I think is unprecedented and is leading us down an extremely dangerous path. Anyway, back to the video. And I think, like I said, that the internet is a net negative because of that access to information bombarding our brains. Our brains are not meant for that. You know, like back in the day, you'd have access to information about like your town that you're living in. Yeah, you get some highlights of like the big events going on in the world or in the country. But when you woke up in the morning, you didn't open your phone to people being killed. Like when I found out that Charlie Kirk was assassinated, I woke up, grabbed my phone, I open it, and it's my wife messaging me that Charlie Kirk had been shot. And I'm like, I was like, what? And I open it up, and the first thing I see in the morning that day was Charlie Kirk shot in the neck. And it was one of the most gruesome and horrible things. And it devastated me and really emotionally damaged me. But I could feel that desensitization that I've described. And not in a way that it made me not care, but in a way where it made me expect the worst of people. The desensitized aspect was I knew people were going to celebrate it. I expected it. And I didn't expect it to the degree that we got it. And that's what made me realize that the desensitization is a problem. Like, it made me realize for sure. Like, I've thought about this since I was like 18 years old. This access to information radicalizing people, our brains just being like adrenaline rushed all day from the tragedy, feeling like you have to change the world, and also seeing just the worst parts of humanity all the time, making you feel hopeless and in despair. But it never, I always thought, like, I guess it's called normalcy bias. You know, like, you never think it's going to get worse. You know, like, I always thought like something horrific like this was a possibility, that people would celebrate it really poorly and show just disgusting nature. But that normalcy bias goes, no, because like people are mostly rational, you know? People, like, there's going to be like some people that celebrate it, but they're not going to be like, because they're human, there's going to be like caveats and buts in it, you know? Like, they're going to be redeemable, you know? So I expected that. But that, you shouldn't expect that even. And then for it to go even lower than that desensitized expectation that I had, and be more vile and more repugnant than anything I could have possibly expected, and shock me, I was baffled by it. You know, and I don't want to make this all about Charlie Kirk, because it's not just about Charlie Kirk. It's most egregious with him, most disgusting with him. We are so desensitized in society that these things, these horrible moments in history happen, and it's like another day on the news, you know? I'm glad that the Melissa Hortman and the Charlie Kirk thing are not. I'm glad that most of America, most of the Western world, are united in the aspect that it's bad, but that subset of overly desensitized and radicalized people that are celebrating it, that group is getting a lot larger. And it scares me. It genuinely does. It has me concerned about where this country goes, where the Western world goes. Can we come back from this? Is there an off-ramp from this? I don't know if there is. And it stressed me out so much that I haven't been able to sleep. Like I said, another thing that's always kind of lingered in the back of my head was the potential for civil war again. And it's always scared me, you know? But I always thought the same thing. No, normalcy bias. Like, people are mostly rational. Like, we can have conversation, open dialogue. We can do this. Like, war is not going to happen. Then they killed the guy who's having open dialogue. You know, like, you can disagree with what Charlie Kirk said. You have a problem with what he said. But he always gave you the opportunity to argue your point. And his conversations were always about changing his mind. A lot of people went up there and like, oh, you're never going to change your mind. Why am I even here? It's not really about changing Charlie Kirk's mind. It's about debating your idea to see if you can change your mind or change the mind of the person who's watching. For me, for example, I wasn't like a super big Charlie Kirk fan. I admired what he did because it took a lot of bravery to go out there and put your life on the line like he did. But what drew me to his content, and what draws me to all debate content, is usually I'm not in a total agreement with anybody. Like, honestly, I can't think of a single creator that I'm in total agreement with. And when I watched those debates with Charlie and the people he was speaking with, I'm not debating just the person he's debating. Yeah, I agree more with Charlie Kirk on some things, but I'm also debating Charlie Kirk. I was having a conversation in my head back and forth, thinking of points back and forth with him, thinking about points back and forth with the person he's having a conversation with. I think that aspect was a net positive. And he's been killed. So I sit here and I think we're so desensitized and radicalized that the guy giving you the opportunity to speak was killed. A politician was killed in her home by a guy impersonating police officers, presumably because he was a conservative and disagreed with her. I don't know the whole story on that one, to be totally honest with you. I read an interview from him where he said that it wasn't political, that he did what he did, but I don't know how you kill a politician and it not be political. All of this to say that the government and these social media platforms have manipulated the human brain and pumped us full of these algorithms that have radicalized us to hate each other, to stay on their platforms, arguing against each other and getting more and more aggressive toward one another to ultimately benefit them financially. Like, there's going to be people who watch this video, and I've not really taken a hardline stance in any direction, but there's going to be people who watch this video and they're going to become angry with me because they've been radicalized so much that any disagreement is violence towards them. You know, and there's this conversation, not conversation, there's this meme that you see where it's teasing the left for saying that words are violence, and then they respond with physical violence. Like, when you reach that point where you can't even have a conversation because you think the conversation is violence, I don't see an off-ramp on that. And to those of you that are on the left that are more towards the extreme side of things that may watch this, what is the off-ramp for you, right? Like, I genuinely am asking you, if words are violence to you and we can't have a conversation anymore, I can't disagree with your perspective because you say it's violence, or someone else can't disagree with your perspective because it's violence, and it results in assassinations and killings and terrorist threats, death threats, all that stuff. How do we get off of this without conflict? Is it just you and your perspective taking over and you violently revolutionize and shut everyone else down? Is that your end goal? Why is that your end goal if it is your end goal? Do you not care about other people's lives? Why is your perspective the only perspective that matters? Why is your perspective worth killing for? I don't understand. I have had another perfect example of this is around 2014. I was in the debate space. Once I got on the internet, I started debating people all the time, every day, all day, from 2012. Yeah, like 2012 until about 2019. And at about 2014, it was like this switch flipped. I used to be able to have disagreements with people, and I'd disprove points, they'd disprove some of my points. We'd have this conversation back and forth. But yeah, like in 2014, this switch flipped, and when I would debate with somebody and I would disprove a point of theirs, it wasn't self-reflection anymore. Like, maybe I was incorrect about that. It became, they went and found phone numbers, addresses, started threatening me, spreading my information all over the place, calling cops to my house. Like, it was like an overnight switch, just boop. How does someone like me have a dialogue with you? How does anybody, because I'm not left or right. If anything, like I said in our introduction podcast, and I can bring it up and show on the screen. I might edit that right here. But I'm like a social left libertarian. I am pro-gay marriage. I am pro-marijuana legalization, recreational marijuana legalization. I'll say this is kind of how I summarize my political perspectives a lot of the time to people who struggle to understand where I'm coming from. I think that a gay couple should be able to defend their pot farm with fully automatic machine guns and say whatever they want. That's kind of a really rough, basic way to summarize my political beliefs. I'm a social left libertarian. Economically right, I think we need to be more fiscally responsible, but I think we need to be more fiscally responsible to build out social safety nets to protect people, to give people who are in need the help they need. And I discussed that a little bit in my podcast, the first introductory podcast. I don't think that if you just don't want to work, you should be able to just get on those social safety nets and just live on them your whole life. But if you have like a health condition, or you have like crippling anxiety, which is a health condition, but I just wanted to separate that out, and you can't get out in the workforce, and no matter how much therapy and stuff that you get on, you just can't do it. Like agoraphobia, stuff like that. Like, I want you to have that strong social safety network there to protect you. Like I'm left. But the left has gone so far left that I'm now considered an alt-right extremist by most people that I talk to. My only right-wing perspectives, which is crazy to say this too, because like when I was growing up, the left-wing perspective was like free speech at all costs. It's not anymore. And it was the right. When I was growing up, it was Republicans trying to suppress video games, playing Magic the Gathering is like the devil. You're playing Pokemon is summoning devils. D&D, Dungeons and Dragons is the devil. It was this constant purity test. It's flipped now. Purity test is on the other side. And you've gone so far that you're pointing at guys like me who agree with you on most things. And you're calling me a Nazi because I'm pro-gun. I think that we should have the right to defend ourselves against tyrannical government, someone who wants to come and hurt my family or me. Because I'm pro-free speech, which, like I said, used to be a left-wing belief, but now they totally oppose it. And that's like that. I honestly don't even look at that as a right-wing perspective. I look at that more like libertarian, but it gets lumped in with me being a right-winger. And like, do you understand the problem that I'm illustrating? How does someone like me have a conversation with you when we agree on most things, but you call me a Nazi? How do you demonize an entire group of people over and over and over again for 15 years? Politicians, this is to you. You call them fascists, Nazis, existential threats, and think it's not going to radicalize people to hurt another person. How do you petition our social media networks to pump certain news out and suppress others and think it's not going to have the same problems? So not only do we have this constant access to information radicalizing us and breaking our monkey brain, we have the government manipulating those things, these malicious actors in the government manipulating those things to drive us against each other, to radicalize us. The people like me in the middle they're stressed out, dude. And I want you guys, like I'm reaching out to you guys and expressing my concern about how the internet has been a net negative in the West, to try and give you an olive branch to tell me what's the off-ramp for the extreme right, for the extreme left. Because it's total supremacy from both of you guys. The only way that I see away from that is conflict. We can't have conflict, though. We can't do that. We cannot do that. Too many innocents who want nothing to do with it will get pulled into your guys' conflict, and it's not right. Because you guys can't agree. Because you guys are so far extreme. But I will point out that it's one side disproportionately committing the violence. I can think of one instance in the last 30 years where the right wing did something. 2 if you include January 6th. It wasn't the right wing killing people in 2020. They weren't going out there and going MAGA supporter and killing them. It wasn't the right wing who killed Charlie Kirk. It wasn't the right wing who shot at Trump, despite how much the media is trying to tell you because he wore a Demolition Ranch pro-gun YouTuber t-shirt that he was right wing. They're trying to say that Charlie Kirk shooter is right wing because his family was. It's so intellectually dishonest because you try to tell me that a Democrat, a leftist, has never come from a Republican family before? That you can't have a disagreement with someone in your family over politics, that because your family believes something, you have to believe that? It's impossible for you to have a differing opinion? We all know that's not true. We all argue with our families because of that. The left especially will tell you how much they hate their family. They've a lot of the people on the left have isolated themselves completely from their families. I think that's another problem. I think that's another problem why when I talk to people about the death of Charlie Kirk, the assassination of Melissa Hortman, both these extremes have isolated themselves from their families. So when you try to relate to them the tragedy of losing someone like your father, they don't care because they've already lost their father. To them, it's nothing. All that matters to the far right and the far left is their new religion that they follow, their extreme doctrine. What is the off-ramp? Seriously, I keep saying that because I don't see it. It feels like I'm on an interstate driving 85 and we've passed all the exits and my headlights just turned off. That's what it feels like as someone in the center right now. You know, and the far left behaving how they are is not helping. When I listen to creators like Destiny call for the death and the fear of death for conservatives, and I listen to Hassan Piker bring on terrorists to his stream and interview them and glaze them the entire time, him openly call for the death of podcasters' wives because they served in the IDF in Israel. Like, that does not do you any favors. For a normal guy like me who's in the middle, I sit here and go, well, I can't say I'm in the middle anymore because the left will tell me I'm a right-winger. But if I go talk to someone on the right, they're going to say I'm far left because I think we need strong social safety networks, all those things that I described. And I'm doing this to try and help this country. That's why I'm having this conversation, why I'm putting out this video, because I don't know the off-ramp. I don't. And I want there to be one. I want the leftists, not the left. I shouldn't say it that way because the Democrats are the left, and it's not all Democrats because there's plenty of great, wonderful Democrats. But to the leftists, the far left guys, what is the off-ramp for you? Please comment below. What is the off-ramp? And I don't want to hear that it's violence. It cannot be violence. It cannot be compromising our children and our women. Women should be able to be competing in sports on their own without someone who is of an opposite biological sex. And that's the problem that a lot of people will have a conversation with you about on this transgender issue. There's a conflicting ideology that you have presented us with from the far left. It started out as gender is different from sex. They just want to be represented or recognized in society as the gender that they are portraying themselves as. Okay, I will call you what you want to be called. But that doesn't mean that you can go into a boxing ring with my daughter and break her jaw. You were a biological male. You have higher bone density, more fast-twitch muscle fibers. You hit harder. You're faster. Those are innate, immutable characteristics of your gender, your sex. I'll be very specific to try and illustrate this point. We can't compromise our women and children. I don't care if you're trans. I really don't. I promise you I do not. You can be trans. I still think that you should be making 12-year-olds and younger go on puberty blockers. These things should be decisions that adults make. That's not unreasonable. So what is your reasoned response to that? How do we get off this road and get back to a point of civil dialogue? Because I know that me saying that is, the left is already typing that me saying that is violence. I'm not being violent. I love the people in my life that are trans. I have friends that are trans. I love them. But the people that I know in my life that are trans, the ones that I have spoken with about this, they don't view me saying that as violence. They view that as reasonable. And they just want to be left alone. They just want to be recognized as their gender. So I genuine, heartfelt reach out to you. How do we get off of this road if a reasonable perspective of you can do what you want to your body, be who you want to be, and I will call you what you want to be called, but just don't put it on children. Let them grow up and make a decision on their own. You know, we can't have in one breath say that biological sex is different from gender and then try to force the two together as though they're one thing. How do we fix this? And I bring up the trans issue like this Specifically because I know on the left it is the most divisive topic. It is the topic that is causing a lot of the problem and the tension. Because and I get it. You feel like you're fighting on all sides because the center disagrees with you, the right disagrees with you. The only people who agree with you are the far, far left. So I get it. You feel like you're attacked on all sides. But be reasonable with me here and tell me, what is the expectation that we can get from you to get off of this blind driving interstate heading towards conflict? I don't see it, because I've seen Charlie Kirk, for example, propose this exact same question and he's still called a transphobe. Even though he said he doesn't care if you're trans at all. He can think that you're making the wrong decision for your life. He can say that he thinks that there is a man and a woman, but that you have the liberty to be what you want to be. So he's proposing basically the same thing that I am, but he's hardlining that because of the confusion that has been intentionally drawn between gender and sex. Sports are separated by sex. Bathrooms separated by sex. How do we reconcile this? Because you're not going to go break my daughter's jaw. You're not going to go take her trophies from her. That's not a realistic thing. You're going to have opposition from people over that. Because everyone can sense what's fair and what isn't fair. I mean, even monkeys can do it. That's not fair. So how do we get off this road in a fair way that recognizes trans people and their identities without disenfranchising women? So please, in the comment section down below, tell me what the off-road is on that topic. Anyway, guys, this is just kind of my thoughts on this. This is Censored Society. Signing off. I'll catch you in the next one.